Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bob's Bookshelf. I'm your host, Bob. In this episode, I have 4 small-scale books about art exhibitions where the design and typography are conceptually driven. And since some of you are making books that are smaller in scale, and someone asked if I could show some books that operate in that way, I thought this would be the perfect time to do that here. So let me pin the main image and we'll get started. All right, there we go. So 4 terrific books today, all pretty small. This is like 5 by 7, going up to about 6 by 9 down here. So I'll get these other ones out of the way. We'll go from small to large and we'll take it from there. So this is for an exhibition called Rock My World, done a number of years ago at the CCA Wattis Institute. And the cover is paper over boards. It does this lovely thing here, right, where there's this gradient with distressed wood type on top. An exhibition about rock and roll and art, and it's referring to these sorts of gig posters that were printed letterpress on the west coast of the US. These were done in LA, down in at Colby Printing. They would have these blanks that were silk screened or sometimes letterpressed, but usually silk screened in this gradient pattern. So they'd have all these blank sheets and then they would run those sheets through and print the type on top of letterpress, okay? So that's the design vocabulary that this book is referring to. And there's all kinds of little touches like this. Okay, turn the volume up. See in person, these sorts of references to gig posters. All right, so as we get started, okay, tons of imagery of the exhibition itself. 1, 2, 3, 4, right, counting off the beginning of the song and then going into the title spread. Okay, so Rock My World, recent art and the memory of rock and roll. Okay. So here, referring to how songs are displayed on a record jacket, recorded in the USA. This is the beginning of the essays section. All right. So all of this typography is referring in different ways to like record stuff. So if you're the kind of person who obsesses over the way LPs were designed, or like cassette J cards or that kind of thing, this kind of vocabulary will have some resonance for you. All right. My favorite part of this is this little typographic detail that could easily go unnoticed. So I'll lift this up so you can see a little better. So you might notice that the type down here is in black and suddenly it's in red. Okay, over here it's doing the same thing. Down here, up to here, it's black, then it's red. All right, same thing here, black, red, all black here, black, red. So what's happening here is that the designers, who I should have mentioned, were Volume Design in San Francisco. The partners are Adam Broadsley and Eric Hyman. And Eric you might know because he's on the faculty here at CCA. Anyway, this is referring to on a mixing board where the input signal is either in the OK area or it's going into the red. In other words, there's the possibility of the signal clipping, or it's the input level is too high. All right. So all the way through the text is referring to this. And you'll also notice that it doesn't go up to the same height every time, right? Because on a mixing board, those colors go up from the bottom. Super cool, fun, inside baseball kind of approach. It just makes me smile. It's so smart, so simple, and so cool. All right, so this goes through in this way. And so here's the next essay. This is a lovely touch here. So the subhead in the essay is also affected in the same way, right? So black and then were in the red. All right, let's move forward a little bit. Here's where the plates begin. And in here, there are these little typographic lockups about each artist and the artwork title. I'll lift this up. Hopefully you can see this clearly. Okay. And this type down here is this kind of diagrammatically constructed type that you would see like on a cassette box. So those of you who made mixtapes back in the day, you will recognize this kind of vocabulary. And since all the artworks in this exhibition are referring to rock and roll and those sorts of details in various ways, this design strategy makes absolute sense and is also an absolute delight to discover. And now we're back here in the information about all the artists, where the same kind of vocabulary continues, but in a quieter way. All right. And then we finish up. At the end, a little bit of text here, the show, and here's the show. And we're done. All right. So beautiful, simple, clear, effective, lovely. The next book is this book by John Sueda, designed this, again for the CCA Wattis Institute. This is a book on Moby Dick. So for a stretch of time, the Wattis did a series of exhibitions that referred to three great American novels. So there was Moby Dick, and let's see if I can remember the other two, Huck Finn, and another one that I can't remember, that I might remember in a minute. Anyway, so cloth bound, foil stamped in gold on white, lovely custom typeface for the exhibition. I'll hold this at an angle so you can get a better feel for the sheen. Beautiful spine. And the whale diving into the water. Terrific end papers, the pattern of the ocean. Half title, full title, the artists in the exhibition. So really simple structure, right? There's a frame, things happen in the frame, it prints in two colors, black and sort of ocean blue color. Okay, we're on uncoated paper here in this section, table of contents, and then the essay begins. So these images are picked up from another version of Moby Dick, a sort of special edition. And these are all by the illustrator and graphic artist Rockwell Kent. So these were picked up, licensed for this book. So opening of this essay, folios at the top, and very simple treatment of the title, nice initial cap on this quote, and then the text begins. All right. The book, the text block here is consistent throughout, and then various images move in on that block, and then the text wraps. Okay, the captions are in blue to match the image. All right, and that's how this works all the way through. This was designed by John Sueda, who's on the faculty of the graduate program. This is one of my favorite parts. Moby Dick in 1,000 words. What's funny about this is I once had to read Moby Dick for school ages ago, and I had forgotten most of the details. And so reading this was great, because it's like, oh yeah, now I remember that part. So there it is, 1,000 words, and we're done. This section introduces all the characters. So the text now goes to 2 columns with a blue rule separating the 2 columns. Initial cap here. And it goes consistently all the way through. Beautiful illustration of Moby Dick. And then a lovely little gatefold showing the route that the ship in Moby Dick took until it finally sinks here in the Pacific Ocean. All right, then it gets to the artist section, and here the paper changes from uncoated paper to coated paper, and this allows the reproductions to print better. Okay. One really beautiful detail here is that the images have varnish on it, gloss varnish, and the designer has run that varnish a little ways beyond the image to make it act almost like a frame. I think you can see it now in the glare, right? The varnish is going barely, barely over the edges. Just a terrific detail among so many other terrific details in this book. This custom typeface appears again. Okay. So at this point, the book just runs in alphabetical order, each artist and their artwork, with a text explaining what the work is about. Okay, so let's jump on ahead. One nice thing about this book and the others in this series that John designed is that there are exhibition photographs as well, so that this book becomes a really thorough documentation of what the exhibition looked like and felt like. So these are photographs of what the exhibition looks like. You can see that the artwork is mounted on the wall that's printed in the same super dark blue color that's in the book. Super nice. Okay. So we have that. And then we go back to the uncoated paper with some other kinds of material here in the back, another essay. And the text behaves in the same way as the essay up front. All right, and then a glossary here in the back with some great little details. You can see there are dingbats on either side of the letters. Around the A, there are little, well, here there's anchors around the B, and then this is like the wheel, the navigation wheel from the boat. That has a real name, and I don't know what it is. Sorry. Works in the exhibition. So now the text goes to 3 columns and fills out the page so that everything can fit elegantly. And then on we go to the end, colophon and the back end papers. And then there's Moby Dick again in gold. Super beautiful. All right. Brief water break. Okay, this next book, also designed by Volume Design, is The Lining of Forgetting. There's a lot of interesting details in this book. So the title of the exhibition is The Lining of Forgetting, and the rest of the title is Internal and External Memory in Art. So you can see that the subtitle of the exhibition is treated in what's called a spot gloss UV. It's like glossy, clear stuff, and it's only visible in certain kinds of light. Similarly, on the spine, goes off the edges. And on the back, the artists in the exhibition are treated in the same glossy material. So it's there and not there. Okay. So what they're trying to get at here is ideas about memory. Okay, so all the art in this exhibition is about memory, just like in the previous book I showed, it's about rock and roll, or it's related to Moby Dick somehow. This beautiful opening sequence sets up both the design vocabulary and the conceptual nature of how the book is going to operate. So we have this blue, we're on uncoated paper, and it starts fading out. This small text says, I will have spent my life trying to understand the function of remembering, which is not the opposite of forgetting, but rather its lining. We do not remember, we rewrite memory, much as history is rewritten. And then the attribution is here. It's probably hard to see in the video, but there are some very, very subtle typographic things going on here, where the text is in black and then bits of the text are in a very, very light blue that are going in and out of phase with the rest of the text. Something similar is happening back here, where it's even more subtle. I'm not sure you can even, I can see it here. I'm not sure it's even visible in the video. Okay. Anyway, then we get to the title page. All right. And then this starts setting up this idea of a field in light blue that overlaps different aspects of the information, which pushes it back into space. All right. So the idea here is that the designers are taking something that is about form and connecting that metaphorically to the concept of the exhibition itself. All right. These ideas don't have to be super complex. They just have to function and read and be decipherable by a viewer that is curious. Okay, here's the contents page. And then we start. So here's the director's forward note, right? These are falling in the same place. So this is the beginning of the design system. The text comes to the edges, but there's a space in the middle for the gutter. This ends, and then we start the first essay, The Lining of Forgetting. So the title is repeated twice, once here in blue on blue, and then here again where it's black and then pushed back by this blue field. All right, so this implies that the field is like translucent or something. Then the text blends in from light gray to black. So once you know that the idea behind the exhibition is about memory, you can start reading into all of these design moves and wondering about how they connect to memory. Okay. These figure illustrations are also treated in a very interesting way. They are outside and inside of the field of light blue, and the light blue overprints them. So I don't know, again, how visible this is, but you can see from here over, there's blue on top of the image, and from here over, there's no blue at all. Okay, same thing's going on here. Same thing here, the blue overprints the image. All right, so the uncoded section ends. The coded section begins. Media is the memory. So there are a number of sections to this exhibition, and this is the first one. And now the imagery from the exhibition itself is started to be treated similarly to the type here, where things are coming in and out of the surface and overprinting in different ways. Okay. So it's like it's coming into focus. And then we get a series of artists. Again, now the artist's name is treated in the same way as the title of the opening of this essay. Let me go back to that here, right? So this shape is the same shape. It aligns all the way through. We're looking at this to that. All right. And then the artworks fit in the grid in various kinds of ways, depending on how many spreads each artist gets. Okay. The idea here is to keep everything structured consistently, but not repetitive. Here's the next section opener. Again, the images overlapping and blending and blurring into each other in different ways, as if in a dream. Okay. So this section operates similarly. And then the final section, the work of memory. And again. Okay. Let's go back here. Once the plate section is finished on the coded paper, we switch back to uncoded paper for this essay called Memories, History, and Memento Technics. I probably mispronounced that. Okay, so this returns again, and the text comes in again, and then the essay runs. All right. Again, the color of the blue overlaps the image, and it blurs in and out. What's interesting to me is here, the blue completely knocks out the text. And so that makes me, as a reader, now that I'm sensitized to the idea that this frame is supposed to be translucent, it makes me read this in a different way. All right. And also the fact that this text starts large and gets small, unlike the others that started small and got big, also cues me visually that something different is going on in this essay. Okay, in terms of how it connects conceptually to the rest of the exhibition. All right, beautiful overlapping imagery here. And then we get to the exhibition checklist and biographies, which are treated in a very straightforward and clear way. And then the artist's biographies. And then we're done. All right, lovely. The last book I'm going to show is a book I designed. It's called A Contemporary Cabinet of Curiosities, Selections from the Vicky and Kent Logan Collection. This is also a book for the CCA WADIS. The material on the cover is metallic silver embossed paper with a debossed area. And then this image is a sticker that was printed in full color and then applied. And the back has nothing but silver. Okay. Purple end papers. Okay. So in order to understand this book, you have to understand what a cabinet of curiosities was. And a cabinet of curiosities was the precursor to what we now think of as museums. So people, wealthy people, frankly, would assemble a room full of curiosities. These could include artworks, a skeleton, samples of animals that had been preserved, all kinds of things, gemstones, rocks, all kinds of stuff. They were these collections of interesting things, the point of which was to produce a sense of awe in the viewer, the person experiencing this cabinet. So the idea for this became producing different kinds of imagery that would allude to this idea, both the time period during which this practice was done and the ideas behind the exhibition itself. So here we have bits and pieces of a human skeleton. These are typographic ornaments, other typographic ornaments. And then for the text is a typeface that I had designed that had a number of different variations. And for this book, I took all those different variations and combined them together so that even down to the typeface itself, things were combined in a different kind of way. And again, this is the kind of thing that may not really show up as in the video. So the structure of this is pretty simple. It prints in black and a sort of brownish gray ink all the way through. Here's the main essay, more typographic material. These boxes define the area where all the text and imagery comes in, and these images break through the edge. They fall in the same place every time. The figures fall way down here in teeny tiny type, very tiny. There are no folios or headers or footers because they're not really necessary. So why have them? Okay, so that's the end of the essay. And then the, excuse me, and then the plate section begins. So just as the people who had cabinets of curiosities assembled their cabinets, the reader of this book has to assemble this book. So all the plates come on a series of stickers that are stuck in the back of the book. So here are all the artworks in the book as stickers. Okay, and the reader, user, viewer has to go through and assemble this. So here I put this one in place, but when you get the book, everything looks like this, black and gray. And there are little guide dots here and here to show you where the image should go. All right. Here's another one that I dropped into place. Okay, here's this, and here's the sticker. So you would peel this off and place it here when you were ready to assemble your book. All right, so again, an extremely simple idea, right? You assemble the book just as the people who had cabinets of curiosity assembled their cabinets. Back here, we have the works in the exhibition. So now a diagram of the human heart and more of this typographic material, all the artists and the work in the show. Here's the biographies, another part of the human skeleton, and it goes through to the end. Colophon and papers back cover. Okay. All right, that is everything. So hopefully helpful if you're thinking about if your book is going to be smaller in scale and you're fishing around for ways to make your decisions make sense. All you need is a clear idea and then find ways to connect form to that idea in a way that is decipherable by the viewer, and you'll be on to something. All right. So thanks very much. Thanks for watching. Good to see you. And if you have any suggestions for a book or a kind of book that you want me to show and talk about, just let me know and I'll do the best I can. All right. Thanks a million. See you around.